Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on Boolean indexing. For this lecture, we'll create an array and then a normally distributed array of numbers. So let's start by creating an array, and then we'll save it in a variable called states. So we'll create an array containing a list of states. So np.array, and then let's pass a list of states. Let's say New York, DC, California, let's say New York, California, DC, New York. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's add one more. Let's add California. So we have 8. And next, let's create a normally distributed data using NumPy's randn method. And we save it in a variable called num. So np.random.randn, and we'll create an 8x4 normally distributed data for our numbers. So if we call our states object, we have an array, and then if we call our number object, we have an array containing some random normally distributed data. And shape of our numbers array is 8x4. So what we'll do next is, here we have 8 states, right, in our list, and then we have 8 rows. Let's say each state, each element in our states array corresponds to one row in our numbers array. So for instance, let's say New York corresponds to this first row, DC corresponds to this second row, and then New York is the fourth element in the states array here. New York corresponds to the fourth row here, and so on. So in that case, we can compare our states with this Boolean, with this numbers array, and then get a Boolean results. For instance, we can say we have our states array. States is equal to double equal, we can say New York. So in this case, it will be true for the first row here, and the second row will give us false, and the fourth row will be true, and the seventh row will also be true. So that will give us a Boolean array. So we get true, false, false, true, false, false, true, false. So in order to do this kind of comparison, here the number has to match exactly. So it has to be of the same length. And using this, we can even grab a slice from our numbers array. For instance, we can say we have our numbers array, and then we can slice by setting states to be equal to New York. And let's say, so if we simply say states is equal to New York, that will give us the 3 rows where New York is true. So basically it gives us the row where the Boolean array is true. So the first row, the fourth row, and the seventh row. And we can further this and grab a slice from this New York array. For instance, if we want to grab the last 3 elements from each of these rows, we can say, let me copy this. So we can say numbers num state is equal to New York, and from that slice we can even get sub slices. We can say, so since we want to grab the last 3 elements, we can say index 1 colon. That means grab index 1 and everything after. So that will give us the last 3 elements from each of the rows, right? Similarly, we can say states is equal to double equal New York, and then if we want the middle 2 elements, we can specify that in our index. We can say, so this is index 0, 1, we can say 1, 2, 3. That means grab indexes 1 and 2. So that will give us this, the middle 2 elements in each of the New York array. So if we run this, we get that, the middle 2 elements. And let's say we want to get only the first element in our New York array. Let's say we want to grab 0.36, 0.94, and 0.72. How can we do that? So we can say num state is equal to New York, comma, so the first element means index 0. So that will give us an array containing a list of these 3 numbers. So if we run that, we get a single array containing a list of those 3 numbers. Or another way we can do is, if we want to get separate arrays for each of those elements at index 0, we can say, we can pass index slice as 0 to 1. That means grab index 0 from each list in our New York array. So if we run that, we get each element as a list from our New York array. So far we have seen the double equal sign. We can also use the not equal or the negation. So not equal, we can also do that. Let's look at an example. So we can say states is not equal to, we can say New York. So that will give us the opposite of what we got here. So we'll get false, true, true, false, and so on. So if we run this, we get false, true, true, false, true, true, false, true. Similarly, we can do the same for the remaining states. States not equal to, we have DC, and we get true, false, true, 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 false, true, true. We can apply this to any of those states. And we can also grab all the rows where the state is not equal to New York. So let me show you how we can do that by using the negation symbol. So we have our numbers array, and then we want to grab states is equal to New York. This will give us what we saw earlier, the first. So this will give us this. Let me run it and show you. So we get that, and the question is to grab all the states except New York. So we can do that by simply passing a negation sign. So negation, and now when we run it, we get the remaining of the states, right? So the remaining states are 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first one is negative 0.74. That's, if we go to negative 0.74, that's the second one, negative 0.74, which is DC. And the next one should be California, which is 0.522. So if we go down here, we have 0.522, and it goes on like that. Okay. We can also use so far we have seen the double equal, we have used the negation, and we can also use the OR operation. So for instance, we can grab all the information, all the states where state is equal to New York or DC. How can we do that? So we can say we have where states is equal to double equal to New York, or we can say states is equal to double equal to DC. And don't forget, when you use or and comparison, to enclose your statements in a parenthesis. So we can say states is equal to New York, or states is equal to DC. So we can do that. We'll get an array. So it says true, true, false, true, false, true, true, false. So we know the first, the fourth, and the sixth or seventh one are New York. Let's go back to our array here. We have, so the first, the fourth, and seventh one are New York, and the second and sixth one are DC. That's what we got here. And we can display the arrays, the random number, the data containing the numbers array. We can also do that. So let's save this in a variable called, let's say, nydc. Okay, so we can simply say, we can call our numbers array and then pass nydc. So that will give us the arrays containing New York or DC. So 3 for New York and then 2 for DC. So this is what I wanted to cover in this lecture. So we saw how we could do Boolean indexing. For this, the most important thing was to create an equally, the length of our states array here and our randomly generated numbers are the same.